The Nigerian film industry is among the top 3 largest film producers in the world. Now, the industry is a significant part of the arts, entertainment and recreation sector, which contributed 2.3% to Nigeria's gross domestic product, GDP, in 2016. It is also one of the priority sectors identified in the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan of the Federal Government of Nigeria, with a planned $1 billion in export revenue by 2020. Although Nollywood's distinctive storytelling holds broad appeal, it is still faced with some primordial challenges. Some of the major challenges identified with filmmaking in Nigeria include poor funding, piracy, and poor quality video output. Now, as the world commemorates the World Creativity and Innovation Day, people in the creative industry are challenged to use new ideas, make new decisions, and do creative thinking to advance the creative economy. Now, how can the creative industry improve its income generation capacity, create more job opportunities, and export earnings? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will be discussing dynamics and innovations in the Nigerian film industry. Did I just say Good Morning Nigeria? Nigeria today, I beg your pardon. My name is Victor Azu. Welcome to the program. And with me in the studio to discuss creativity and innovation in Nigeria is Dr. Chidi Amaduekwe. He is the Managing Director, Chief Executive, Nigerian Film Corporation. Thank you for joining us, Doc.
Thank you for having me.
And also joining us from Lagos, this time via Zoom, is Fidelis Duka, filmmaker and founder, Abuja International Film Festival. Thank you, Fidelis, for joining us too.
A very good evening, Victor. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Right. Now, let me begin with the DG here. The Nigerian film industry was identified in the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan of the Federal Government of Nigeria, with a planned $1 billion, like we mentioned earlier, in export revenue by 2020. How far would you say the industry has gone in that regards?
In terms of government walking their talk, yes, government has brought the attention on the front burner and has gone ahead to back it up with making available several intervention funds, be it from Bank of Industry or the most recent one that the CBN is trying to set up at the Eco Hub of the former National Theatre, and other appropriation that the federal government is doing in enabling either from the government sector to have capacity for training, enhancing quality, and facilities deliverables that can help our very active young minds in the area of film industry to ramp up their capacity and improve on their quality, because actually we are not talking about number anymore. I think the issue now is quality, so that they can remain globally competitive with other clients in terms of quality. Of course, we are already notably very competitive when it comes to number. But then we are now looking at how government will enable our industry experts to see it as a basis to enhance quality, so that when next you hear about Oscar, we will proudly take our center stage and be there. And then when next you hear about movies that are hitting the blockbuster, you find out that Nigeria will take the dominant center stage. But above all, because the aim of government is to see this development as a low-hanging fruit and use it to migrate millions of our youth out of joblessness, because you've seen the Buhari administration talking strongly as to what needs to be done to move people away from the poverty circle to where they can be net creators of wealth. And this film industry certainly is seen by government as one of those low-hanging fruits
that can make that happen.
That can make that happen.
But how far have we come in terms of what significant improvements have we seen since government began to pull in the funds?
Like I said, there have been significant amount of budgetary allocation in that direction. Secondly, government has been doing so much in terms of making the environment, conducive, giving tax, heavens and all that. And then investing more in the audiovisuals or creative industry so that we can unlock that potential in our youth to make sure that they gain traction in their own chosen area. I did mention what the CBN is doing at the former or the Lagos theater, as it were. So all those are just one out of several other interventions. I did also mention that huge amount of money which the government has set up for funding the creative industry within the Bank of Industry, and of course the one coming from CBN. I also would like to say that the budgetary allocation of Nigerian Film Corporation, being the central agency for galvanizing and developing film, is also have seen growth recently through the appropriation benefit from National Assembly. We were able to launch our first of its kind mobile school. Mobile school means that government is interested in moving around, not just sitting down there and just at NFI to receive students for training, but we need to domesticate training across the entire 6 geopolitical zone. That's our mandate, and government is working tough on their mandate.
All right, thank you very much, DG Nigerian Film Corporation. Let's move over now to Fidelis Duka, who's joined us by Zoom. Fidelis, last year, the COVID-19 pandemic took the world by storm, and we saw many innovations introduced to circumvent the effects of the restrictions on our social and economic lives. One of such innovations which became popular includes the Zoom that you are using now to join this conversation. So, for the film industry, how were you able to survive the lockdown period?
Thank you very much, Victor. Thank you for inviting me. I will quickly address the question you just asked. I think the pandemic had its own negatives and positives. I think for the creative sector globally, it came at the right time. It opened our eyes to other visa of opportunities for the filmmaker. The average filmmaker now found out there were other ways and mediums of even monetizing and exploiting their content. The online platform became very popular at the very initial stage of the pandemic, as far back as March till late last year, because most of the cinemas were not open, distribution outlets could not distribute films and all that, and everybody had to resort to the online platform. That's what takes me back to your initial question to the managing director of the Nigerian Film Corporation. I'm happy that you said that the budgetary allocation to the NSC has been increased. I heard that and I was quite surprised. I'm happy that it has been increased. But you see, one of the questions you asked was, how has all this all this intervention affected the industry? And I'll tell you, to a large extent, the average filmmaker has not felt the impact of all this intervention. Beautiful intervention by the federal government, we must say. Apart from the BOI, which of course has been there for over 6 years, most of those who got funding for the BOI funding were about 3 years ago. The last set of funding was about 3 years ago. 3 years, even far before the COVID-19. And I heard the MD talking about several interventions. The National Theatre has not even started. The last time we heard was that they told some of the occupants to vacate the place. So you cannot begin to mention that as some of the results. These are not results yet. I think the industry must realize that Nollywood and the film industry in Nigeria is an industry that was built by the practitioners themselves. They built this industry from nothing. And that's why you find that when you ask questions like, how has government intervention affected the industry? Most filmmakers will tell you that they have not felt the impact, really. Yes, there was funding during the Goodluck Jonathan admission when he gave 3 billion naira to the industry, where a couple of filmmakers, let's say about 150 filmmakers got funding between 5 and 20 million to make films. We saw the number of films that were produced at that point in time. The MD is talking about a mobile training school in 2022, when young people can go online.
By the current government is perhaps an infrastructure. Wouldn't it be that the impact is not felt so much immediately because of the situation of things, which we all are aware of?
Other sectors are feeling it. Other sectors, agriculture is feeling it. Oh. There were interventions to the agricultural industry during the COVID-19. There were intervention to the manufacturing industry during COVID-19.
Okay.
Other sectors have felt it. We've had several committees set up for intervention into the creative industry, including the broadcast industry. None during the COVID-19 era, none of the intervention has been assessed till date. That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
And that was your question to the managing director of the NFC. There were several interventions. Other sectors of the economy got support during the COVID-19 era. We are going out of COVID-19 now, and most production companies are at their lowest ebb. Most production companies lost a lot during that period. We are expecting that all these interventions that were promised by the federal government will have been assessed. There is the NISFA loan that was there for small and medium-scale businesses. I don't think any Nigerian filmmaker assessed that loan. That is where I would have expected the Nigerian Film Corporation to be an intermediary between the filmmaker and the NISFA bank. You get my point? And that was your question. Have we felt the impact of all this intervention by the federal government? No, is the answer.
I'm sure that, thank you very much indeed, Fidelis Duka. I'm sure that the DG will have something to say about this. So, what is the Film Corporation doing specifically to advance film production in Nigeria, DG?
I like to always emphasize, ours is precisely by way of policy as an agency of government, and we've been very much running that more than I can say was done before. Film is a global product. It's not just located to Nigeria. So
of course,
for you to aspire for excellence, you need a collaboration with other cinematic countries. And under my watch, under this president, Nigeria was for the very first time able to sign a co-production agreement with France. And I want to say that that co-production agreement has yielded tremendous support in terms of development of the industry. Assuming we can have more of such collaboration, which is within our mandate, which is NFC supposed to activate these MOUs and see to it that government, consumes them. And when we consume them, it will automatically be domiciled for practicalization with those who are in the industry. You will recall that recently, last year or a year ago, NFC again was able to look inward. And we had this collaboration arrangement with defense headquarters. And I want to say that there's a recent film which the Air Force sponsored. And when I had discussion with the man in charge of that arm, he told me that that collaboration gave impetus, although it was already what was on ground, but it helped, it stimulated them to go ahead to invest heavily in that film. And there are many of such things lined up, which is because you have a government agency that is focused on its mandate to see how the film industry will be developed. And when you activate some of this collaboration, then it is there for those who are in the industry to, make use of them and then move on in their trade.
All right.
And that's exactly what we are trying to do. Recently, it was brought to our attention that the Smithsonian Institute or Smithsonian Museum of Arts in America, in Washington, will be devoting the whole year from June 2021 till 2022 for Nigerian films and music. And when they do that, and they are working with NFC to ensure that there is good visibility of Nigerian films and product. When they do that, a lot of global audience are already expressing interest on what partnership that is going to come out of that in terms of inroad into the Nigerian market. So as a government agency, we are leading from the front and doing that which we are mandated to do.
Right.
We are not supposed to go and be producing films and then competing with those in the industry.
Thank you, DG. But one thing I would like you to respond to will be how often the corporation engages the movie makers and practitioners, because from there you'll be able to bridge the obvious gap between the needs, the immediate needs of practitioners and what the corporation and indeed government is trying to do. But we'll look at that just after this break. Please don't go away. All right, so welcome back. The program is Nigeria Today on NTA News 24, and we have been discussing creativity and innovation in Nigeria with Dr. Chidi Amaduekwe, Managing Director, Nigerian Film Corporation, who is here in the studio, and with Fidelis Duka, filmmaker and founder, Abuja International Film Festival, who's joined us via Zoom. But let me go back to Fidelis, who is joined us via Zoom. The World Bank estimates that for every legitimate copy of a movie sold, 9 others are pirated. Tell us how piracy affects you as a filmmaker. Perhaps we'll be able to find solutions to solving these problems. What do you think should be done differently in the fight against piracy?
Yeah, I think it's a World Bank report that was published a couple of years ago on the issue of piracy. Piracy even goes beyond just DVDs, because even the DVD era has we've gone past that era now. Most of the films are online, and because the online platform is so easy, all you need to do is to get a flash drive, you copy a film, and you begin to share among your friends, even on your phone. And I was talking to somebody from Kenya today, a filmmaker from Kenya, and we're discussing that the business has gone so bad that you cannot even curtail piracy. What you can use now to limit piracy or bootlegging is for you to have more distribution platforms. And that is what we crave for. We're expecting that part of the interventions we expect from government. Imagine if the 776 local governments in Nigeria, 772 local governments in Nigeria, each local government has a community cinema where films are screened. You can imagine the revenue. The $1 billion you mentioned will be a child's play to what will be realized from that part sector. So the only way you can curtail piracy is simply by creating more distribution platforms. There must be more distribution platforms, and that is the beauty of technology. It has made it a bit easier to pirate and easier to curtail piracy, in the sense that it is easier for you to share, but it's also easier because you can share a particular content to many platforms. A good example is I am on air with you now on Zoom. Several people are watching around the world, watching NTA now. They can copy this material anywhere as we're on air. So that's what technology has done. So for me, that report was about 8 or 9 years ago. But beyond that now, filmmakers have gone beyond that report now. We are beginning to use technology to curtail those mistakes. And another way, as I mentioned earlier, is more distribution platforms, either online or physical distribution. That's why I mentioned the local government. You can imagine if we have it in all the 772 local governments in Nigeria, a community cinema.
774, yeah. All right, thank you very much indeed, Fidelis. But another thing I want us to talk about, which is a challenge, is the poor visual quality of some films, which has over time been attributed to poor funding.
Let me quickly respond to that. Let me quickly respond. I will quickly respond.
Okay.
I know there's no time. There is this misconception about poor quality of film. Anywhere in the world, even in Hollywood, even in the UK, there are poor quality of films and there are very good films. In every system, you have the bad ones and you have the good ones. When people begin to say Nollywood films are bad, it's condescending to a large extent. Because in this same industry, we have films that have gone to major film festivals and around the world who do well.
Indeed.
That's what I'm saying.
Indeed.
So among the multitude, you have very bad ones. Even in Hollywood, when you get to Hollywood, you see shitty films. There are even awards for films that are bad in Hollywood today. So when people talk about the quality of films, in the midst of these several bad films, you have very outstanding filmmakers who are doing very great films in Hollywood today.
Indeed.
And I don't think the quality of Nigerian films have improved from over 20 years ago. Look at the technical quality of these films. Yes, we still have those who are still doing films that are below quality. I think people are even trying to retrain and train themselves. And that's one area I will give credit to the NFC. They have been doing the shoot for over 15 years now, and they have been consistent with it, training young filmmakers. And the National Film Institute in Jos have produced some of the best cinematographers in this industry. I will give that to the NFC. They have done well with the school there. That is one thing I will commend them for. As regards capacity building, they are taking their time. Successive managing directors have done that.
Okay. Thank you. Indeed, at least there's something to commend the NFC for. But let me ask the DG now. Now, the Nigerian Film Corporation was given a mandate to train young, talented Nigerian art of filmmaking, to also conduct research into Nigerian films, and I understand provide technical and financial support to the film industry and practitioners. Now, what is the target, and how far have you gone with this mandate? Now, take along with it, I asked earlier, how often do you interface with practitioners so that there will be less gap in what the needs are and what government is providing?
Thank you for that question. Under my watch, I had made rapid success in terms of convergence between NFC and the industry people. And I usually do that particularly when under the constituency, numerous constituency programs that members of National Assembly projects come into the NFC. When we are doing that, I make sure that we invite stakeholders in the industry. They participate, either resource people or people with ideas. We can discuss issue about the industry and come to a certain understanding. On the issue of training, I did mention to you that because of the collaboration agreement we signed, we are receiving funding far in excess of the kind of capital we can get from our annual budget to, as we speak today, to build infrastructural deficits at the National Film Institute in Jos that could possibly run into several billions of naira, and is being funded by the state, the French funding agency, AFD. That is why you can say that a lot of people are now clamoring that National Film Institute, we started as a diploma awarding institute, is now awarding degree, is now even awarding master degree, and about to commence their PhD, should now become a reference film university, the first of its kind in Africa. That tells you that government is focused in the mandate of NFI, which is to train and get our use. And I mentioned the issue of mobile unit, and my good friend Duka was trying to poo-poo it. The mobile unit is to again bring this training awareness to the rural areas, to the 774 local government he is talking about. It is when you create the awareness that people will even start becoming digital, to say, okay, we don't need to go to NFI. I also want to commend the National Assembly, because he is talking about government. Government is one, whether from the executive or the legislature, as the case may be. Wherever the development is coming, we must understand it. Now, many of these National Assembly people, they are putting their constituency project for building of community viewing centers. So, as we speak, a lot of community viewing centers are coming up across Nigeria.
But how are you meeting with practitioners? Because I'm running out of time. I'm almost out of time. How often do you meet with them so that we have less gap?
I have said that, like last year, I'm sure we had interface with practitioners well over 20 times. And usually they are the annual film festival and lecture here in Abuja called Zuma Film Festival, the foremost Nigerian national film festival. And it's open for industry practitioners to attend. And when they attend, they have that kind of robust platform for interface.
Okay, thank you very much, DG. I hope I have a few seconds to just run to Fidelis. 10 seconds, I am told I have, some of the movies churned out. Well, let's not... I don't want to talk about the movies churned out which are a bit predictable in their storylines, which you have said, well, you keep improving. I agree with you. But let's talk about the future of the Nigerian film industry. Where do we go from here? How do we maximize its potentials?
The industry has a bright future. Industry has a bright future. We are very sure that this industry has come to stay. It's a part of the Nigerian economy. It will continue to contribute to the Nigerian GDP. So it's a bright future. We have very young people coming. Some of them have spent 30 years in this business. Right? We have younger people who are taking over the business. So it's a bright one. I see Nigerian movie industry going to a point where it will, like the MD said, will win the Oscars. I think it's beyond the Oscars or even winning the Oscars.
All right.
That it goes beyond.
All right. Thank you very much,
Beyond that,
Fidelis.
we have an industry that will come to contribute as oil is contributing.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I have run out of time. But I must appreciate you, Fidelis Duka, filmmaker and founder, Abuja International Film Festival. It's been a pleasure having you join us on the program. And Dr. Chidi Amaduekwe, Managing Director, Nigerian Film Corporation, thank you for your insights on the program.
You're welcome.
Now, Nigeria Today is live every weekday at 7:30 in the evening. And you can watch this and other editions of the program on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. My name is Victor Azu. Thanks for watching.